Have you ever watched someone younger, newer, or less experienced suddenly start speaking like you, dressing like you, even echoing your ideas in meetings or family conversations? And at first, you felt a quiet glow of pride. You thought, they must admire what I've built over the years. Then, slowly, the feeling shifted. The copies became more deliberate. The admiration turned into quiet competition, and one day you realized they weren't just learning from you, they were positioning themselves to take your place. If you've lived long enough, navigated enough careers, raised families, mentored colleagues, or simply held a respected role in your circle, you've almost certainly been on the receiving end of this subtle, unsettling dynamic. Imitation isn't always flattery. Sometimes it's the first step in replacement. Today we're going to walk through exactly how this happens, why it happens, and, most importantly, how someone with your experience can protect the position you've earned without descending into paranoia or petty conflict. It almost always begins with genuine admiration, not malice. When people see someone who embodies qualities they wish they had, calm under pressure, effortless authority, hard-earned wisdom, a reputation for reliability, they feel a mix of awe and envy. That initial spark is rarely strategic. It's human. They want to feel what you feel, to carry themselves the way you do. So they start borrowing pieces, your phrasing in conversations, your approach to problems, the way you dress for certain occasions, the books you mention, the calm tone you use when others are rattled. At this early stage, most originals feel flattered. It's natural to enjoy seeing your influence reflected back. But flattery is the perfect camouflage for what comes next. Humans imitate what they don't have because identity is fragile and competence gaps are painful. Psychologically, when we perceive someone else possessing traits we lack, confidence, social ease, expertise, moral clarity, we experience a dissonance between who we are and who we wish to be. Imitation is the brain's shortcut to closing that gap. It's faster than building the trait ourselves. Envy fuels the process, but it's often disguised as inspiration. The copier doesn't always admit even to themselves that they're trying to become you. They frame it as learning from the best. Yet the deeper motive is identity theft, absorbing your essence so they no longer feel inferior in your presence. This leads to what we can call the shadow phase, a period of close, silent study. They watch you more carefully than anyone else does. They note how you respond to criticism, how you handle conflict, what phrases make people defer to you, when you choose silence, how you carry yourself in rooms full of egos. This isn't casual observation, it's reconnaissance. They're mapping your strengths so they can replicate them. They're also mapping your routines, your predictability, your boundaries, so they can eventually step into the space you occupy. During this phase, the copying is still subtle enough that most people dismiss their unease as vanity, but the longer you live, the more clearly you recognize when someone has moved from casual admiration to deliberate shadowing. Being copied feels flattering at first because it feeds our deep need for validation. After years of quiet effort building a career, earning respect in your community, raising children who look to you, becoming the person others call in crisis, it's validating to see your way of being mirrored. You feel influential. You feel that your life has mattered. That glow lowers your guard. You share more freely. You offer advice without reservation. You assume good faith. This is the validation trap, the moment admiration makes you vulnerable. The copier senses the opening and moves closer. Then comes the shift from imitation to competition. The copies become more overt. They start using your signature phrases in front of others. They position themselves as the updated version of you, younger, fresher, more current. The comparison begins quietly at first. You remind me of him, but with more energy. Later it becomes direct. People say, I handle this the way you used to, only better. What started as homage turns into threat. They no longer want to be like you. They want to be seen as better than you. The original becomes a benchmark to surpass, not a mentor to honor. For some, the end goal is replacement. They don't want to coexist in the same role. They want to occupy it alone. Two people cannot hold the same symbolic position in a social hierarchy without tension. There's a scarcity problem in human groups. Only one person can be the wise elder, the go-to problem solver, the calm center in chaos, the trusted advisor, the one whose opinion ends debates. When someone copies you closely enough, they create redundancy. One of you becomes unnecessary. The copier often believes, consciously or not, that the group would be better served by them taking over. They want the respect, the deference, the influence, without the shadow of the original still present. This leads to a psychological shift that is difficult to detect until it's well underway. Admiration quietly turns into resentment. The more they imitate you, the more they realize how far they still have to go. The gap between their performance and your natural ease becomes irritating. They begin to resent the very person they once admired because your existence reminds them of their own shortfall. That resentment expresses itself in subtle devaluation, slight dismissals of your past contributions, reframing your successes as luck or timing, quietly suggesting that your time has passed. The copier needs to lower you in order to rise. There are clear tells when someone is preparing to replace you. They start distancing themselves from you in group settings. They speak about you in the past tense more often. They create subtle competition, taking credit for ideas you shared privately, positioning themselves as the successor in conversations. They engage in quiet devaluation. You used to be great at this, but things change. They may even spread mild doubt about your current relevance while praising your past. These behaviors are rarely loud or overt. They're designed to erode your position without direct confrontation. Confronting someone who's copying you almost never works. They will deny, deflect, or gaslight. "I'm just inspired by you. You're reading too much into it. I thought you'd be happy." The denial protects their self-image. They can't admit the envy or the ambition without feeling ashamed. Confrontation only makes them more careful, more covert. It rarely stops the behavior. The biggest mistake originals make is to overshare, mentor too generously, or remain naive about the dynamic. When you keep giving freely advice, introductions, access, emotional support, you accelerate the transfer. You teach them everything they need to know to step into your shoes. You make yourself replaceable by handing over the playbook. High-value individuals are copied the most because competence, clarity, and confidence are rare and magnetic. When someone has spent decades cultivating those qualities, they become a beacon. Others want what they have. The more authentic and effective you are, the more you attract imitation. It's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of success. Powerful people protect their position through three main strategies: clear boundaries around access, intentional unpredictability, and selective sharing. They don't give away their full playbook. They remain slightly mysterious. They control who gets close enough to study them deeply. They let others see the results, not the inner workings. When you realize replacement is already in motion, the most effective response is strategic withdrawal, repositioning, and silent separation. Reduce contact. Limit what you share. Shift your energy toward new arenas where your value is fresh and uncontested. Don't compete head-on. That only validates their frame. Instead, let them inherit an empty throne while you quietly move to higher ground. Your absence often reveals how much of their shine depended on your reflection. Here is the final principle worth holding close. Originals are threatening by nature. Authentic presence, earned over years, refined through trial, unapologetic in its depth, will always attract imitation, admiration, envy, and eventually opposition. That's not a flaw in you, it's proof of your value. The people who copy you are telling you, in the clearest possible language, that what you have built matters. Protect it. Not with anger or confrontation, but with calm awareness, firm boundaries, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth was never up for duplication. You've spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Let others imitate. Let them try to replace. The original is always irreplaceable. Stand in that truth and watch how the dynamic changes. Not because you fought, but because you finally understood.